It's not a proud day for this country. How could it be a proud day when a man who was not elected by the people becomes president of the United States? How does that happen? Listen, the man is a malignant narcissist, all right? That's a dangerous combination to have a narcissist like that who's elected to public office, because he's only thinking about himself. He's only thinking, how does this affect me?
Donald Trump built his empire on image, loud rallies, gold-plated branding, and a carefully managed family photo op. But what happens when that image begins to rot from within? When the cracks in his dirty lies-based empire are exposed not by the press, not by critics, but by a man who's been close enough to smell the decay? Michael Moore isn't just speaking out anymore. He's on a mission. And this time, it's not about Trump's presidents, it's about the performance behind closed doors, the secrets Melania never told, the dysfunction they've hidden from cameras, and the lies that built their empire. What Michael revealed on live TV didn't just humiliate Trump, it shattered the illusion of control he clings to. And now, Trump isn't just spiraling, he's crumbling publicly, loudly, and in real time.
Trump's election is going to be the biggest fuck you ever recorded in human history. Fake news that he's one of the founders of in the Obama era.
So
He created the fake news of the
Barack Obama is not a citizen, and
he said that there was intelligence.
That's right. He was called by a reputable,
reputable
source, right.
that there was intelligence.
Right.
He himself was going to. He was hiring investigators.
Yes.
To support his fake news.
In fact,
he is the godfather
That's
of
right.
this decade's fake news.
This is
for him now to say fake news.
Trump's rise wasn't random. He was a product of celebrity culture, political fatigue, and media obsession. He mastered slogans, not solutions. He sold outrage, not outcomes. And in 2016, that spectacle won him the White House. But Michael Moore wasn't fooled. Even before Trump took office, Moore warned the country, this man isn't a champion of the people. He's a symbol of how easily the people can be manipulated. And he was right. From pushing false claims about President Obama's birthplace to promising manufacturing jobs while outsourcing merchandise overseas, Trump didn't rewrite the system. He exploited it. And Moore, with brutal clarity, reminded America that the loudest man in the room isn't always the strongest. Sometimes he's just the most afraid.
Because when he starts to cause harm to our fellow Americans, people are going to rise up. They're not going to take this. They're not going to take it from a guy that did not get a majority of the votes of the people of this country. So, and his thin skin too could be his undoing. When whoever has the most points wins, right? Tottenham 2, Chelsea 1. Who won that game? I'm just asking you factually. Who won that game?
In that case, Tottenham.
Tottenham won. All right. Now, how odd would it be if you on the news that night said Chelsea won today with one goal and Tottenham got 2?
But what are you going to do about it?
This makes no sense.
Every myth has a shelf life. Trump's was built on gold-plated illusions. The billionaire populist, the straight-talking outsider, the deal-making alpha. But the facts tell a different story. Multiple bankruptcies, legal battles with contractors, an administration riddled with resignations, investigations, and scandals. Michael Moore didn't invent these facts. He highlighted what had always been public record. And when he did, he shattered the emotional armor that protected Trump from scrutiny. Moore didn't insult Americans. He didn't mock voters. He simply held up a mirror and asked, is this really who we are? And for many, the answer hit hard. Because when the smoke clears and the cameras fade, what's left of Trump isn't strength, it's strategy. A strategy built on spectacle, not service.
Donald Trump is a big believer in capitalism and free enterprise and the sort of thing that's driven us into the ground, this belief that you could just do whatever you want and it doesn't matter who gets hurt by it. And I don't really see him changing, but I think he knows he's been on TV. He's a performance artist. He knows what to say and he knows how to make this appeal.
You think it's BS?
I think it's, well, please, I don't use that kind of language. But yes, I think. Megan, come on, I know this is the flagship show of Fox News. I just want to go on the record. Well, we all know that.
Like the way you make me sound. Go on.
It is.
There's a reason Trump has always feared ridicule more than opposition. You can fight critics, you can silence reporters, but you can't control laughter. And when Michael Moore used humor to cut through Trump's carefully managed persona, it was more than entertainment. It was cultural defiance. Because nothing destroys the myth of invincibility like a crowd that stops fearing and starts laughing. Trump, who once dominated news cycles with tweets alone, suddenly found himself mocked. On late-night shows, deflated in headlines, and even parodied by those who once supported him. That shift didn't happen overnight, but Moore's commentary accelerated it. He reminded the nation that the man calling himself strong had built his power on a stage, and the spotlight was starting to dim. Trump built a brand on being untouchable, but brands fade, especially when they stop delivering. Moore didn't expose a secret, he exposed a pattern of promises made and broken. Healthcare plans that never came, walls that never finished, coal jobs that never returned. And through it all, Trump claimed success, even when the numbers told another story. Moore, as he always has, channeled the frustration of those left behind, not with bitterness, but with clarity. He didn't speak as a partisan. He spoke as an American tired of being lied to. And in that moment, millions recognized a truth they had buried. Trump didn't drain the swamp. He rebranded it. And the longer he speaks, the more hollow that rebrand sounds.
These days, Donald Trump is very busy doing a whole bunch of other things that we're not paying attention to. Today, Donald Trump's EPA did something that will suffer from years from now that we don't even know right now. His Interior Department sold off land of ours to people that shouldn't have it. His agricultural part, I mean, just go down all the cabinet departments. Every day there is something going on, and we are very caught up in the large things that he's doing, threatening North Korea, refusing to acknowledge what happened this weekend, what really happened. And I just want to be the one to point out that take this horror moment that we're in and times it by 20, times it by 200. That's what's going on in every federal agency under his control every single day. I'm sorry to be the one to have to point that out.
Trump didn't just blur the line between politics and entertainment, he erased it. From campaign rallies choreographed like WWE events to press briefings that felt more like reality TV confessionals, he treated governing like a set. But Michael Moore wasn't entertained. He warned that once the White House becomes a stage, democracy becomes a prop. And he was right. Facts became optional. Loyalty became transactional. Institutions built over centuries were questioned with a single tweet. Trump made everything about himself, even a pandemic. While Americans were dying, he was rating his TV briefing. Moore's voice cut through the noise. This isn't leadership. This is a broadcast. And in that moment, millions realized they weren't watching a president. They were watching programming. Trump didn't invent division, but he amplified it like no one before him. Every crisis became a campaign. Every enemy, real or imagined, was treated as a personal threat. Protesters became anarchists. Journalists became enemies of the people. Immigrants? In his words, rapists, criminals, invaders. But Michael Moore saw the bigger game. He knew Trump's chaos wasn't random. It was strategy. Keep the country in conflict, and no one asks about policy. Keep the headlines wild, and no one checks the receipts. And it worked, until it didn't. Because fear may win elections, but it doesn't fix anything. And when the smoke settled, the country didn't feel stronger. It felt exhausted. Moore didn't attack the man. He exposed the method.
They see that the elites who ruined their lives hate Trump. Corporate America hates Trump. Wall Street hates Trump. The career politicians hate Trump. The media hates Trump after they loved him and created him, and now hate him. Thank you, media. The enemy of my enemy.
Yes, right. But you and I know, because we've known Trump for how many umpteen years. I've been on shows with Trump back in the 90s. I mean, this is a guy who did support Planned Parenthood, who was for gay rights, who you know, he was a big blowhard and he wanted his name on everything, but he also put the ice skating rink back in Central Park. Right. So you know, he's not what he's made himself out to be to these people who voted for him.
So then couldn't a guy like you get behind him?
No, his problem is going to be when he tries to walk back all the crazy stuff that he said. What's going to happen to all the people who voted for that crazy stuff?
You think they're going to abandon Trump?
I think Trump, I should say, I hope that we see the biggest landslide loss ever when whoever the Democratic nominee is beats Donald Trump.
You know what they're banking on? That even though he might lose some women, he might lose some Hispanics, he might lose some young people, some African-American vote, he's going to make it up with the white working class, with the very region he's now touring through, Appalachia and elsewhere, because he's appealing to them and because Hillary Clinton has made some mistakes already.
For years, Trump boasted he alone could fix it. The economy, the border, the deep state. But when tested, he passed the buck. A virus? Blame China. A recession? Blame the Fed. Insurrection? Blame Antifa. And yet somehow always claim victory. But the scoreboard told the truth. Historic job losses skyrocketing. Debt. An insurrection televised around the world. Michael Moore didn't spin the numbers. He showed them. And what they revealed wasn't a fixer. It was a fabricator. Trump branded himself as America's last hope, but governed like a man obsessed with his own image. And in doing so, he left behind a trail of broken promises and burned bridges. Moore didn't have to exaggerate. He just connected the dots, and the picture was damning.
None of what he said was true, but that didn't matter. He knew how to communicate to the American public. He knew how to tell them what they wanted to hear. He went all over Wisconsin the last week saying, I'm going to make you all rich. I'm going to make you all rich. You're going to make you all rich. Well, geez, who wouldn't like to hear that, right? Right? Ma'am, how do I look tonight? How do I look? What would you say? Amazing. Thank you. I don't know whether that's true or not, but it really made me feel good. And that's how he worked, right? He knew how to do it because he was a TV star. He was already a beloved American TV star. Do you realize in the first year, I'm talking about The Apprentice, by the way, the looks on your face, you know. He was the host of a show called The Apprentice. How many people in here watched The Apprentice every week when Donald Trump was on? Can I see a show of 1, 2, 3, 4 in the balcony? Oh my God. You realize that his first year on the air, on some of those shows, that first season, he had over 40 million viewers. Last week on TV, the largest rated show was America's Got Talent. Not ironically titled, by the way, it's a real show. It had 13.1 million viewers. He had 40 million people watching this. And I realized, I guess this isn't that crowd. But I want to tell you, in between the Hudson River and La Cienega Boulevard, there are a lot of people that loved him because he knew how to keep it simple, stupid, right?
Trump claimed to be a champion of the working class, but his policies often told another story. Tax breaks heavily favored the wealthy. Environmental rollbacks helped corporations, not communities. Union protections weakened. Healthcare promises vanished. Michael Moore, a lifelong advocate for the working poor, called it out every step of the way. He didn't just speak truth to power, he decoded the scam. He reminded Americans that Trump's Gilded Tower wasn't built by struggling factory workers. It was built on them. While Trump sold himself as a savior, Moore exposed the truth. The man in the hard hat was just a prop. And the billionaire behind the podium? He was never on your side. He was always building something for himself. By the end of Trump's term, the myth had begun to collapse. Allies jumped ship. Cabinet members resigned. Even loyal media outlets started hedging. But Trump didn't retreat. He doubled down. He pushed election lies that fueled an insurrection. He demanded loyalty over law. And through it all, Michael Moore kept the spotlight where it mattered. Not on Trump's tantrums, but on the damage, the erosion of truth, the normalization of extremism, the creeping sense that this wasn't politics anymore, it was something darker. Moore's voice wasn't just a critique, it was a warning flare. Because when one man demands absolute loyalty, punishes dissent, and denies reality, it stops being democracy. And America was closer to the edge than it once said. The worst thing about Trump isn't Trump. It's how many Americans were willing to follow him. That's the heart of this horror story. Millions weren't duped. They were delighted at the racism, the cruelty, the chaos. And Moore knew this wasn't just about one man. It was about a sickness in the system, decades in the making. A media that rewarded spectacle, a political class that abandoned the working class, and a culture that confused cruelty with strength. Trump was the symptom. But the disease? It was apathy, addiction to outrage, and a hunger for someone, anyone, to burn it all down. Moore didn't just point fingers, he held up a mirror. And for many, the reflection was terrifying, didn't fade. He metastasized. Town halls turned into loyalty tests, so conspiracies replaced policy. Extremists found microphones, and fringe ideas became mainstream. Platform. January 6th wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. Michael Moore saw the writing on the wall. This wasn't a political party anymore. It was a cult of personality with no off switch. And cults don't compromise. They demand obedience. Trump didn't build a movement. He broke the machine and rebuilt it in his image. Moore's films, his speeches, even his tweets, they weren't about nostalgia for a better past. They were warnings about a worse future. One where lies go viral, facts are optional, and violence is just another political strategy. That future isn't fiction. It's already begun.
Do you believe there is a chance that Trump could be convicted by the Senate? We will take care of it.
Weirdly enough, I am that kind of optimist that believes that of the 53 Republicans, Trump can keep the majority, 33 of them in support of him. I believe that there are 20 Republicans who could possibly vote to remove him. That could happen. There's a sliver of a chance if the John Bolton testimony shows people what else is there besides the Ukrainian phone call.
And we don't know if he'll be allowed to testify.
What Moore kept repeating, and what too many ignored, is that democracy dies not with a bang, but with shrugs. When children were in cages, there were shrugs. When journalists were silenced, there were shrugs. When COVID deaths hit 100,000, then 300,000, then 600,000, there were shrugs. Trump knew how to desensitize a nation, flood the zone with scandal until nothing shocks anymore. But Moore refused to go numb. His camera stayed rolling, his voice stayed loud. He reminded us that silence isn't neutral, it's permission. That a nation that forgets how to feel will forget how to fight. Trump didn't win because he was brilliant. He won because so many stopped caring. Moore's mission was to wake us up before it was too late.
Donald Trump came to the Detroit Economic Club and stood there in front of the Ford Motor executives and said, if you close these factories as you're planning to do in Detroit and build them in Mexico, I'm going to put a 35% tariff on those cars when you send them back, and nobody's going to buy them. It was an amazing thing to see. No politician, Republican or Democrat, had ever said anything like that to these executives. And it was music to the ears of people in Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, the Brexit states.
Moore never claimed to have all the answers, but he never stopped asking the dangerous questions. What if Trump returns? What if this time he finishes what he started? This isn't just speculation, it's a blueprint. Trump has already promised retribution. He's floated ideas of mass firings, political purges, military crackdowns on cities, and vengeance against opponents. This isn't policy, it's revenge. Moore's warnings sound more like prophecy now, because the next time there won't be guardrails. The loyalists are in place, the courts are being reshaped, and millions are still cheering. This isn't fear-mongering, it's pattern recognition. The stakes aren't partisan anymore, they're existential. And if we sleep through this moment, we may not get another one. Moore sees the fire. He's begging us not to look away. This isn't just about Trump, it's about us. What kind of country do we want to be? A nation that laughs off corruption, shrugs at cruelty, and calls tyranny tough love? Or one that listens, finally, to the warning sirens that Michael Moore has been sounding for decades? Trump may run again. He may even win. But if he does, it won't be because he fooled us. It will be because we let him. We normalized the abnormal. We accepted the unacceptable. And we forgot that democracy isn't guaranteed. It's earned every day by people who choose truth over comfort, courage over cynicism. Moore's message is clear. This doesn't end unless we end it. Not with apathy, not with hope, but with action. Now,